Start recording.
Okay.
This is the regular ad hoc Academy Community Center Building Committee meeting. Today's Monday, December 9th. And I'd like to open the meeting and call to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the November 26 minutes.
So move.
Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move it.
Second? I'll second, I guess. And are there any questions or any corrections to the minutes?
In item 6, there is 9,112.
Yes. So there is the one is repeated, so there should only be one in there. So it should be 14,912.50. So we'll note that for a correction for the minutes. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. I wasn't here last
Okay.
night.
So that's 2. That's only 2. Felicia's 3. Do I have another one? Peter's 4. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the chair's comments. I would like to let everyone know that the bids from the GCs for the academy for completing the academy building, the academy building into a community center will be open tomorrow at noontime. Later in this meeting, we're going to be discussing how we go over the timeline for once it's open to how we go to award. It's a long process. Just note that there's 100 that we're asking the GCs to hold, the contractors to hold their bids for 100 days. But we'll go over that in the a little later in the meeting under Collier's. And noting that we've been in committee for more than 2 years, I'd like to again thank the group for hanging in. Thank the town for for holding on to this project, and we're coming to the end. We're coming to the conclusion, and probably looking forward to that. That would complete the chair's comments. Liaison reports. Al?
Well, I guess the Board of Selectmen is eagerly awaiting the findings of this committee in terms of the contract bids, and we're eagerly awaiting your recommendations as to your understanding of the bids and what the selectmen might want to include in the project. I just want to remind everybody that the selectmen have not yet made any decisions about whether there will be a referendum. We are waiting for your results and your recommendations before we, the selectmen, have that public debate about whether or not to go to referendum. So I guess you'll be describing the process to us, what's going to happen over the next week or so, and perhaps the selectmen will want to schedule a special meeting depending on this committee's findings, Joe.
Okay. Okay, that might it might take us some amount of time to actually have findings, and even to make a temporary or a recommendation that it may not be a final recommendation. So there may be some lag of time there, but you'll feel free to call. You get to call it when you want to call it. The selectmen, Board of Selectmen. Peter, do you have any? Would you like to add anything here? Peter, you're
Yep,
muted.
I got you. No, John and I will be meeting in my office. We'll open them all up. We're gonna, kind of go through them quickly, record them, and then it goes to Colliers to vet out the bids.
Okay. The subcommittee updates is Joan, and are you the only one from the theater committee here?
Yeah, there's really no update. I don't believe we received anything back as far as hard numbers, unless Colliers can. I mean, we were supposed to get numbers, estimated numbers from that team. They were gonna do a report, I thought.
Just a note, we did get, in the last packet of information for this meeting, the next stage design was included. And I believe that's the first time that went out to the public. Is that correct, John?
To the public, yes. It had been shared previously with the subcommittee, and I think Brian had touched on some of the estimated costs at one of the prior meetings, but I have not seen any formal documentation on that. I don't know, Tom, if you are aware of anything else from next stage on pricing?
No, but I haven't been able to connect with Brian prior to the meeting today, so I'll follow up on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the only thing we're waiting for are the estimated numbers for what could be encapsulated for X number of dollars. And he knew it was going to be tight to try to get it in for November, and I'm just hoping we can get it in by December. It would be nice to get it sometime. Because we did go into quite detail and then it kind of stopped. I just want to make sure that they're aware that they still owe us that for as part of the project that they bid on in scope, that they were hired for.
And Joan, just maybe a couple of sentences for the public who may be seeing or hearing this for the first time. What's in this document?
Let me pull it up. You've got it in front of you. Do you want to just read it? You might as well. It's fairly short.
It's accurate, so I'm not going to read
Okay.
I can summarize that these were recommendations that were provided by the next stage design, and they're quite detailed, including how far from a wall we should have put in a column. They talk about the layout. They talk about some of the include what should be included, including the stage, borders, curtains. It's quite a lengthy list.
Right, but this was something that was done in August, and then we met after that and went through it in detail, and then they gave us very specific estimates so this is something that we were working on prior to even meeting with them.
Right.
So the point being is that I think they were supposed to deliver us, we had minutes to the meetings, and then they were supposed to deliver a final report, and that final report is not here yet. So this was what they looked at and then what we thought would be done. And we went into great detail in a meeting to go through all of that. Some got added to the project, some got added to an ad alternate. And then they were supposed to come out with a final document that has not been generated yet. So the documents that you have from August 24th, it was a working document.
And it covers the recital hall in great detail, and also the gymnasium stage. So it covers both stages.
Yep.
Yeah, so from what I understand, then what's in that document, some of it is in the project, some of it is not. So we don't know exactly what the baseline is, right? Is that correct? In other words, there's a bid that's coming, and there's ad alternate, or there's alternate, some add, some deduct, whatever. But what's in the document? Do we know what's in the project currently?
There are components from those findings and the subsequent meeting that have been incorporated into the package.
Is there a diagram that describes them?
Or like the scope of what's in and what's out.
I believe it's, Tom, that's in the, well, it's in the specs, and then it's also within the drawings as far as what they included in the base, and then obviously there's a couple of alternates too with respect to
That's-
the recyclables.
That's
Base.
correct, but to be very simple about it, all of the architectural and physical space components have been included in the project. The spaces have been reconfigured, they've been sized, they've been shaped, and they've been enclosed, right, or skinned to meet the requirements, and they've had preparations made, infrastructure like, racking or supports. None of the equipment, the physical lighting controls, sound equipment, none of that specific equipment that would be added afterwards is included in the bid set.
And are some of those additions add alternates, Tom?
No, as of right now, that detailed package has not been developed either for bidding or scope. All we have provided at this point is a recommended budget allocation to carry. Designing and specifying all of that equipment is a very detailed and can be long-lasting process, a very specific process. And that will be its own project, much like FF&E would be for the project, designing, speccing, and bidding the furniture.
Would it be possible to get a diagram or something or markup of that says yes, included, not included? Because decisions need to be made at some point, and then we just need to know what it is.
Sure, we can try and do that.
Thank you, Tom. And for whomever's going to be taking the notes on this, Jeannie, could you please highlight that as a deliverable from Tom?
So just to confirm, the plug number we had for the stage, that's just been now just incorporated into the cost of the project. We're not leaving that. Because that was like an add alternate that we had with just a plug number that we were carrying in our budget, right? So is that now out?
That would be on top of the bid. So the bids that we receive will include everything that's in the construction documents and the execution of that. On top of all of that cost, will be all of the soft costs of FF&E, and in this case, the budget for AV and equipment. Those will all be put together for a total project budget.
Any other comments on the theater? Thank you. Environmental? Lost tracks.
No update.
No update from environmental and design. Any update?
No update, just waiting for bids.
Thank you. Includes item 5 on the agenda, subcommittee updates. Item 6, review and approve invoice packet if applicable. Joan, would you like to comment on?
Yes, we do have an invoice packet. We do have an invoice packet for tonight. The total being 2 invoices. One is SES for $1,875. And the second one is, oh no, that's just the detail. Sorry. So it's a very small. What was that?
There should only be one invoice.
Yeah, nope, that was it. Sorry, I thought because I was looking at the totals that were on the details on the next page. I was like, so basically this is out of an allocation of 12,500. We're paying 1,850. So it's the first payment. Or something that was previously billed. So that finalizes out the design phase for SES. And then we'll be pushing into construction phase next. So I got an email from Ann, we reviewed it, and we will move to approve this if someone will second it.
I'll second. Any other questions?
And that's
All in
for
favor?
our commissioning agent?
Yes, right.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All approval, say aye. Aye.
I,
Aye.
Motion approved. I will, I get to sign these, and I'll sign it as of today. And we'll move on in just a second. Next item is review and approve budget line items and budget line item transfers if applicable. Joan?
no line item transfers.
Number 8 on the agenda is the Colliers update. John, if you could give us the update, and then either you or Tom or both in tandem, maybe lay out the timeline for what happens from tomorrow at noon on.
Sure. So as was referenced previously, the bids are due tomorrow at noon. I will be over at Peter's office for the opening of those. More than likely, there will be some, if not most, of the general contractors bidding the project will be there as well. It is a public opening, so we will read the base bid and the alternates. We will not read the pricing for the unit cost, the more minutia portion of the bidding process. But the base bid and the alternates will be read out aloud, and then shortly thereafter, Colliers will take a copy of the flash drive. There should be 2 flash drives with 2 hard copies of the bids submitted by each of the general contractors. We'll take one of those flash drives back to the office and start compiling that information into the bid analysis spreadsheet. And it'll take a couple days, but we'll start digesting the bids, determining what, if any, exclusions, exceptions are being included with those bids from the general contractors, and then ultimately creating a spreadsheet that will be shared with the building committee, and hopefully early next week at the latest we will have those results and present that either formally. I think there is actually a meeting scheduled for the 17th.
There is.
So, by then we would have that. I think there's a Board of Selectmen's meeting on the 16th, Al. So whether or not, we have everything in place by then, I'm not sure, but the building committee most likely would be weighing in on the 17th of that meeting.
I would like to again point out, maybe I should ask you, John, if you could elaborate, because there is a follow-up. We have a follow-up of approximately another week where we might be able to have additional questions or even interview.
Sure, yes.
Some of the GCs.
Depending on the results and the analysis, more than likely, the building committee would typically select probably 3 or 4 contractors out of that list, and follow-up interviews. Questions can be presented to those contractors. They can be brought in for interviews if that's an option that is pursued, depending on what the building committee prefers to do and how they would prefer to address that process. It can be done in a number of different ways, but often you do end up having the firms come in to interview to make sure that number one, there aren't any questions regarding their bid, and number 2, that it's a company that the building committee feels comfortable working with.
So we get these before the next meeting?
Yes, you should have something by, before next Tuesday.
Alicia has a question.
So, can we kind of really dig into how this process is gonna go right now? Because, I think I've been stressing from the beginning, while price is important, it should not be the only deciding factor in who we select as a GC for this. So is there going to be sort of a rating scale when we get the packages to be, is it all the building committee members? Are we making a subcommittee to kind of meet and decide to attend interviews? Like, how is this process going to be laid out? Because we can't just, I'm really hesitant to say, okay, you're going to get them a day before next week's meeting and you're expected to decide who the GC is without a framework laid out with a specific metric for analyzing who is the best GC for this job, not just based on the bid price.
Right, I didn't mean to imply that the decision needed to be made next Tuesday.
No, and
information-
maybe it isn't, but I think right now, today is the day before they come in. Today is the day that we spell out exactly how this process is and what is expected of us as committee members and when we get it and what our rating scale is supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, there is a matrix that we do use during the interview process. We can, put that together and share that ahead of the meeting next week, certainly.
Yeah, I just,
Here's what you're alluding to.
how many bids are we expecting? And then how many would we advance to the interview stage? Because I don't think we want to interview everyone, right? I think we should cap it at 3 for the sake of our time and everybody else's time. So it's just kind of, do we read the packages and sort of vote from then who proceeds into the interview stage, or how do we want to do this?
Well, even before that, when you're analyzing the bids, are you documenting if some of the numbers look out of whack and give us that feedback ahead of time?
Yeah, I mean, some of the,
Or would Colliers go to the bidder and say, hey, listen, you only bid $500 for this item, everyone else at 10,000, what's the deal?
it depends.
Or does that come to us and then we make that decision and ask the question formally to them?
You can do it that way. It also, to be honest, it depends on how many bids come in. I mean, if you have, 3 bids, then.
Well, yeah, obviously, but
If you have 20 bidders, then.
well, even
yeah,
if you have
don't
10,
need to
right,
worry
you
too
can
much
still
about
want to
that
kind of
delta.
vet them a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, but, some of that gets, established based on, how many bids have come in and also, what the range is. I mean, if you've got, 4 or 5 that are, pretty much within the same, range, then, you're probably going to be realizing that's where the number ideally should be. If you have some that, $6-7 million above and beyond that, you have a couple that are $2-3 million below, depending on what that number is. You sort of get a sense of what the sweet spot is based on, the assessment of the numbers up front. So again, it depends on how many come in, and then off of that, you have the alternates obviously as well that, get factored in. But, a lot of it is going to be determined and realized by the spreadsheet. I mean, once all those numbers get plugged in, you'll get a sense as to where, everything lays out and where the number probably should be.
So that's your plan, you put together the spreadsheet, share it with the committee.
Right, and that's something I would like to think certainly we can have by, a preliminary result by Thursday or Friday. So you're not getting it, Monday afternoon before, or Tuesday morning before Tuesday's meeting. So you have, sufficient time to start, digesting and looking at some of that information initially.
And then you'll have the comments that came with the bid,
Yes.
if
I
they
mean,
had
it'll be-
exclusions or.
Yes.
Police, does that satisfy your question?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as John says, it all depends how many bidders there are, but I think we should give ourselves sort of a goal that when we meet on Tuesday, let's narrow it down to the three, bidders that we would like to see for an interview. Does that seem fair to everyone?
I guess it depends on how many bidders there are. We have 13, it might not, if we have 3, as John said, it'd be easy. if there are 13, it may not be quite that
Well,
simple.
and especially with the spread of the bids, so I mean, it's hard to tell today what we're gonna get tomorrow.
And John, just to clarify, the winner, whoever's selected as a general contractor, they get both the base and all the add alternates. We are not going to pull out an add alternate and give it to a different contractor, even if or even the package of add alternates, even if that was more favorable to the other, from another contractor.
Yes.
This is winner take all.
Yes, correct. The general contractor is awarded the project, and the determination of which alternates are to be selected becomes part of their scope of work. You don't separate or divvy up between different contractors because one contractor's alternate number is lower than another. It's all in as far as the contractor doing the scope of the work. And then the question is, what is considered that contract scope of work? Which alternates are going to be used out of that list of 11 alternates?
We don't necessarily award all 11 alternates.
Not necessarily, no, you don't need to.
But that's why we have 100 days, 120, what days, how many do we do?
Well, it's 100 days, that's also because of the potential
Well,
referendum.
that's what I'm saying, but the referendum's gonna dictate if we do, potentially do more of these.
Remember,
alternates.
there is no referendum.
Right, but if there was one.
There is no school.
Can we go back to how many we want to interview though? Because these interviews are not a small endeavor for people to prepare for and also for us to sit through. So I think honestly, I don't know. I know it's going to be hard for us to narrow it down if we do, get 13 bids, but I really don't think we want to go more than 3 interviews. So
I was gonna suggest that a range of 3 to 5 might be a reasonable number once you see the spread, say, because if you had 5 people within 5% of each other, maybe there's something there. But if there's only 3 people within some range, yes.
Peter? Recommend-
That's typically what we do in the town. We've always had the process of, when we've gotten 7, 8, 9, 10 bids, we'll weed out the high and the low, or the extreme high, extreme low, and then what we'll do is we'll pick up 3 to 5 qualified bidders from there, interview them, and then make our decisions from there.
okay, so is that our goal next Tuesday night to have 3 to 5 selected, depending on how many come in? I read I looked through who attended the walkthrough, if that's any indication of who's bidding. A lot of those were subs and not the actual GCs. So I don't think we're going to get, a huge windfall of bids, but I think we'll have a good amount.
That was a question that I was gonna have to John as well, is any sense of where you had mentioned 20 or 22 GCs
There were-
were on the list? But-
Yeah, there are 20, I think actually 23 GCs, one of which has since dropped out. Yeah, pretty much a couple days afterwards, they notified me that they would not be bidding, but I have not received indication from any others that they were not going to be bidding it, so it's potentially as many as I think 21, 22, but I'm sure we won't see that many bids. I don't anticipate. I mean, it's great if we do, but I'm anticipating between 10 to 15, I think, out of that group at the most.
So we clearly don't want to interview more than 5.
Pardon?
We certainly don't want to interview more than 5. If there's 15.
No, it's usually 3 to 4 that you end up looking to interview, but again, it depends on how many bids come in and where that range is.
It may also include how many, or we may have to look at how many of the add alternates. I mean, the lowest bidders may be the low bidder because they did not include, they included 0 of the add alternates. Because not all are all of the bidders required to give an add alternate price?
They are requested to. The base bid does not include any of the alternate prices.
Right.
The alternate prices are all priced out separately. Those have been asked to be filled in. So, the assumption is that each of the contractors will be providing a price for each of the 11 alternates.
But it's not required.
It's not required, but
So the distribution,
anticipated.
the distribution of who who provides that price has to be included, because someone who bids zero ad alternates is gonna have a much lower bid than someone who bids the base plus all the ad alternates.
But Peter, would you agree that that would be if someone puts 0 in for the alternates, that's a non-responsive bid?
Yes, I mean, that can be construed that
You
way.
would throw that one out. Potentially.
Peter,
Oh, we
that
lost
was a
it.
question for Peter, and I think
Peter,
we lost.
on the alternates, because some, since I'm newer to this, some appear to be adds, some appear to be deducts. Can we get as part of this evaluation period, some sort of a graphic, again, similar to the theater, that says this is in, this is out, or this is what's in the base, this is what be required? So for instance, the parking or the site stuff, if it's something is not accepted, what does it look like? Or if something is accepted, what does it look like? And then just a simple graphic so that it explains what it is we're accepting.
I think there was a document you had for each of the alternates, right?
I think, yeah, Tom, there's something that's spelled out in the drawings. I know the spec, or the drawings have it noted as far as what is base scope, correct? And what is associated with the alternates?
That is correct.
Well, I
But-
looked at the drawings, and so where there were some things such as the parking lot, if there was a deduct to the parking lot, then what did it look like once that deduct was accepted as a site plan?
That could be prepared.
You could go and look through each of them. So for instance, the kitchen equipment, is there anything that's implied on the mechanical side or on the electrical side? So that at least we can make a fair decision to whether or not we accept it or not.
Yeah, or we could potentially do it in a narrative format for each alternate, which might
One
be,
page or it requires a sketch, a simple pencil sketch, quick sketch would be fine.
And I want to remind the committee, although we asked for the cost of each of these alternates, we don't necessarily have to decide now whether or not the alternates happen. They can always be added later as change orders, depending on where the budget and the contingency fall. They might have to redo their pricing based on, current material costs and everything, but we certainly don't need to lock ourselves in right now to absolutely every single alternate. We can always hold those for later. Would everybody John, would you agree with that? Or do we
Yeah,
need to make a decision now?
That's an option, certainly.
Prior to a decision being made,
Well, I think the only decision is how do we count base bids and ad alternates when we're comparing someone?
Well, I mean,
I think
you'll have
we need the
spreadsheet.
numbers.
Because
There'll be,
there'll be a total number, but there'll also be a matrix of who actually bid on all the ad alternates or not.
They're
But
gonna,
maybe they all bid on all of them, and this is
They're
kind of a
gonna
moot point, but
they're gonna
that's,
have to bid on all of them.
pardon?
They don't
they
really
should
have,
be bidding on all of
they
them.
have a choice. They have to bid on all the alternates. Because
I
if-
don't
if you
recall
look-
that from the,
But if you
from the
take
bid
bidder
package.
one, let's just say bidder one bids base bid $8 million for, just throw that out there, and all their alternates add up, right? Ends up being more than what bidder two is, right? Because he
Yeah.
bids more but less on the alternates, that it all has to be, it's one bid. Right? Bidder two could be 10 million on the base bid, but all of his alternates are much lower than bidder one. Like, you know what I'm saying? How you gonna, it all kind of blends together.
well,
Right?
it doesn't blend together, because in the awards, we don't have to award all the ad alternates. We could award only certain of the ad alternates, if we chose to.
We should be focusing on what the base bid is. And if there are certain alternates that we absolutely know, if we can afford them, they're in, then we can consider those. But the base bid should be your guiding sort of standard to what we're purchasing for the project, because that is the base scope of the project. The alternates are just the additionals.
we need.
Yeah, but I see people nodding their heads, but
I
I'm
agree
not
with what
sure if
she's-
that was
what she's-
agreement or your neck hurts.
No, that is.
I mean, it is the
yes,
base bid
agreed.
that we're most concerned with, right? Look, I don't think any bidder is gonna get creative with their bid, but I guess you never know. Right?
I think the base bid is the most important thing, yes. The question is, if you have the dollar amount that's fixed, which we do, then are we trying to get closer to it? Are we trying to get not so close? Do we want to say, hey, we can put this off for now? And
My only point was that if you got a bidder who manipulated the bid and he comes in lower on his base bid, right, and has all these alternates and hopes he gets these and that's where his profit's built in. I don't
right.
think they're getting too creative on this size project, but
We'll
You never know.
more with the
We'll know tomorrow.
spreadsheet.
Honestly, I'm more concerned about what the GC qualifications are than where the bids come in. I want a quality project, not just the cheapest project, but we can read the packages and see where that lands.
Okay? And John, do you have metrics for the quality of the bidders?
We can look at assessing some of that, yes. Experience, similar projects, they will include that, well, they typically will include that in their bid package as far as, references. That was requested by, other, projects they're working on, similar projects to this, as far as scope and dollar values. So yes, there is a set of documentation that would be provided with the bid package from the general contractors.
did they list their subs too?
Typically not. Because more than likely they haven't even selected their subs.
No, I mean,
as
but
a
given-
GC. A
but
CM, yes, but as a GC, they're not entitled or required to submit that list.
Could you ask for major, so mechanical, that kind of thing, as part of the interview process, who they're considering?
And yes, you can do that in the interview process, certainly, yes.
I mean, given half the construction cost could be MEP, we might want to know back.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's, something that you would follow up on in the interview process to, make sure that they are, selecting mechanical trades that are, valid and well-respected and, have experience that, people would be familiar with on this committee and or,
And they
through
usually submit like
QAM or colleagues.
workload too.
I'm sorry?
They would submit like workload to current projects they're working on.
That could be asked and requested, yes. For the interview stage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So John, can you succinctly tell us what you're going to deliver by Tuesday and develop further than that if it's not, if we go further?
Could I amend your motion and ask
Pardon?
for it to be delivered by Friday or over the weekend?
I'd say that is, to Peter's point, the intent to have something by Friday.
Then
so that
succinctly
we're
tell
not
me, for
racing.
all of us, not just me, so that we know what to expect. And we all nod our heads and say, this isn't a vote, but we all nod our heads and say, yes, that's a complete package. You've given us enough to do the first cut on that.
Yes, that is the intent. To have the spreadsheet
Well,
and the exceptions, exclusions, things that are going to be pertinent and relevant to the decisions or discussions for next Tuesday's meeting.
And that will include price of the base price
Yes,
of the project,
base price, all the alternates.
all the
unit
alternates,
costs.
whether they're bid or not.
Yes.
And then some metrics on the quality of the bidder. Not just what they give us, but I mean, is
We
this,
can try to put that together. Usually that's more in the interviewing process where you whittle it down to the, 3 to 5 contractors you're looking to speak to, as opposed to potentially, 15 to 20 companies that you're doing that type of assessment of. But depending on what comes in tomorrow, we'll determine, how much we can put together before,
Right.
Friday.
Peter, you haven't weighed in. Do you have anything more to add or subtract or?
Nope,
comment
nothing.
on?
No, I have nothing to add.
I think the spreadsheet that he's putting together will be telling and give us enough information at least to be able to review.
Okay. Anything else to the Colliers update, John?
No, that's pretty much it. Waiting for
Uh,
tomorrow.
Tom, do you have anything from QAM, for a QAM update? Anything more?
No update from the design team. We'll know a lot more after tomorrow.
Tom, you do have your ACA meeting tomorrow night, correct? Is that still-
Yes, that's correct.
Is that concurrent with the bid opening, or does that follow?
No, that's in the evening.
Evening?
And we've been before them twice. I don't anticipate any significant comments or feedback that would require any changes at this point.
Anything else, QAM? Anything else you want to comment on?
No, we're set. Thank you.
The next item is public comment. I guess I'd like to do public comment here, and then we would not do it again at item 12. So are there any member of the public would like to make a comment to the committee?
I think we have one.
Okay.
I think Maureen has a question.
Someone would normally raise their hand.
They did, but I have to promote them so they could ask their question, which I tried to do. Did it work?
Is there a lag? Can you wait 5 seconds?
No, I think so.
She
So-
seems to be muted. Can you unmute her?
I can't.
There, I did it.
Oh, there you go.
Good. I would just like to share with you all, I'm disappointed that there doesn't appear to be a report that was received about the theater. When I reviewed the minutes from November 26th, it said, I can't get back to them right now, but someone reported that they would be published on the town's website. So I went looking for them today and couldn't find them, but then I understood from what Joan was saying. But there was like some type of dollar amount that was put in for the bid packages. Is that how that's all happening? And that by the time you get the bid packages to look at, or the spreadsheet next Tuesday, you'll have some idea about the theater?
Who wants to take that? I'll give it, I can give it a try. The report that I spoke about earlier in the meeting is essentially, there is no dollar signs associated with it. It is the complete build out. It describes the complete build out of 2 stages so that they be pretty much functional. They would be functional. There is no dollar amount that is tied to this at the moment. That was supposed to be something that this next stage did and gotten back to us, and they either haven't or we haven't received it. What is in the bid package is essentially the infrastructure for 2 stages, so they can be fitted out at a later date under a different project and not part of this project.
Okay. So the basics would be there for further design and construction. Okay.
Right. And the initial dated August 26th is a guide to what it should look like. The missing piece is, it's not really a bid, or it's not even, maybe it's a guideline, not even so much as an estimate of what that might cost.
Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Anybody would like to add or subtract from that? Thank you. Anybody else on the, we have someone in the room? Could you
Yes.
identify your name,
Sure.
please?
I'm Art Simons. I live on Barton Drive, Madison. I'm here, I'm on the Youth Family Services Board, but not here representing an official capacity or, I guess, private citizen. I'm assuming that the officers of the Youth Family Services Department are not included in this project. Am I correct?
I didn't quite catch that. Can you?
There was talk many months ago that there would be offices for the Youth and Family Services Department in this project. We were told several months ago that they were not in the final plan that was previously presented. Is it still true that those offices are not in this, in the bid, what you asked of the bidders, that the offices of the Youth and Family Services Department are not in this plan?
It is.
Although this is not a question and answer, I believe I could answer it at least partially, and I will take any additions. That the build out of the offices is in the package that's being bid. But the things like desks and computers and equipment is not. That would be part of the FFE that we're going to do later, bid later. And I'm not sure which drawing you saw last, but Madison Youth and Family Service is going to be split on two levels. One at the upper level for their general offices, and at the lower level for things that require confidentiality. Did I get that right, Tom?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other member of the public?
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on from the public comment. The discussion of the theater report. I believe we handled that earlier. Is there anything more to add other than what we discussed earlier? Nope. Okay, we'll move past that. Public comment. We're ready to adjourn unless anybody else would like to comment, any members of the committee. Okay, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.